Okay, drop. Oh, gosh. We have a lot of freebies to work with here. I'll tell you what. So CJ comes in, floatier, tries to go after the roll volley, gets away from him. Has to be my pressure moving forward, right? It's got to be the added presence.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's aiming for a smaller target. He sees that ball's up, tries to go for a little more, recognize that maybe he can finish the point right there. Probably would have been better off just going right at you rather than the side of you. Probably would have been tough for you to get out of the way. But, yeah, forward pressure creates a lot of options.
Okay. All right, so 6-0 here. Do something with our lives. Bang.
Get game two.
Oh,
Get
gosh.
game two.
How pathetic was that backhand poach? Okay, all right, let's go back here. Dude, I mean, I gotta trust that I can do something with this 1-y, and I gotta get my nose in there and get extra dirty. Look at that half-ass poach. Folks, this is exactly what you should not do. Okay, that is called being 25% committed. Ball gets floated up. I can feel Jame off to my side, but for some reason I get my... Oh, God, he's ready to put a freaking hole through Collin. I decide to get my filthy hands in there. Shame on me. That is Jame's ball. I poke it at 15%. Collin is generous enough to give me a half-ass volley, and now we're in.
Textbook. Totally textbook.
Okay. Ball gets floated up. This whole point is just caca. It's all bad. All bad. Just act like you never saw that. Okay. 0-6-1. Just ruin that point. Okay. But the return on CJ. Jame tries to go right back to that same spot. I think the drop wasn't as lifty, so maybe not try to pull the trigger there. It's like the drop got down a bit more. He's being
uses the right footwork. Sees that it doesn't make sense to take it out of the air. Uses his anchor step there, waits for the ball to sit up. But when you're using that anchor step, this is where you're always at a split-second decision, right? Just after you take that step back, we don't know how high the ball is going to bounce up. We don't know how fast our opponents are going to close in. So as we're waiting for that ball to sit up, we're recognizing all that information. The harder they close in, the lower the bounce, makes us more likely to dink. The more that they're taking their time, the higher the bounce, the more likely we are to fire. Tough for me to tell, what was the right or wrong play there. Maybe it didn't sit up as much as Jame wanted to, but he tried to fire and wasn't able to convert.
Yeah, and I think for viewers and listeners out there, if you feel like, a ball presents itself, they're dropping, a ball presents itself, it's a little liftier off the bounce, and you have time to be aggressive. If you have a big gain over your opponent's head-to-head and you comfortably feel like you can beat them head-to-head, I would say always pull the trigger, right?
Yeah.
But if you feel like you can outgrind them, and maybe you do get a liftier dink, maybe it's smart not to pull the trigger and just bank on you can outgrind them at the kitchen line. So just think about where's your biggest gain on the court. If you're a better dinking team than them, then you could care less that they get up and establish. You're kind of dying for them to get up and establish just so you can find a way to outgrind them or find a way to outdink them. Or vice versa. Yeah, if you feel like maybe they're better at the kitchen line than you, then you should be looking to take more options or looking to take more chances from an offensive manner and look to speed up a bit more, whether that's on your fourth or sixth. But yeah, so Jame there, ball was a little low. Looks like they were getting up and established. Probably should have opted just to hit the plan B button and surrender and dink it in the kitchen. All right, higher ball. CJ's taking a sweet time coming in. Ball gets popped up. Oh, what a point, huh? What a point.
Pretty nice little slide by TM there.
Uh-huh. Okay,
handles the Ben Johns roll.
So Collin probably does this better than anybody. Floats one up, holds his ground, knows how much time he has. Probably one of the better defenders in the game.
Yeah.
Doesn't put a whole lot of spin on his drops, kind of guides and steers. But yeah, just takes his time, comfortably coming up, kind of has that like methodical approach. No need to rush, floats it. And I can't tell you how many times guys try to come through Collin while Collin is halfway up there. Collin will kind of purposely float a drop. He'll come halfway in. Somebody will try to come through him, and Collin can slide and find that two-way, and he can spank that two-way with some force. Obviously, that doesn't take place here, but it's just a principle of, there's nothing wrong with taking time playing defense and just waiting for the right ball to start moving in on. The ball, so it looks like John May kind of floats this up a little bit. Benny hits a backhand flick at me. I slide. Punch.
Yeah, you had to cover some ground to make that a backhand. Well done.
Okay, ball comes at John May. John May finds a forehand. The forehand's a freaking cannon. Flicks the backhand. I like it. Meet that man head to head. Mano y mano.
Some fast hands, and there's just so much weight of shot on his volleys that is noticeable when you play against him.
Yeah, it's funny too because we're talking about John May's. We're talking about like the perfect technique on the counter from the forehand side. John May's paddle's a little softer, and so John May takes a pretty big cut. Granted, like you had mentioned, it makes more sense to take a cut if you're off the line. But I can't tell you how many times John May takes big cuts with that forehand. And that 6-0, I'm not going to lie, is a little softer. Definitely plays like a pillow. And John May is able to keep that thing in with a big old clocking forehand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, very impressive. It shows the talent, right? If he can take have more motion and still have fast enough hands to catch the ball out in front, all the better.
Guy's got a set of hands on him. Okay, 1-6-2 here. Oh, be there. Be there, be there. Okay, so not going to lie. I've been playing Ben all year long, and about 80% of the time, where do you think he always puts that first drive? He puts it at me, probably because I'm not freaking doing enough with my fourth. Okay, he puts it at me. He drops his fifth. I've been seeing that all year long, and it looks like Ben this year has been using the drive and the drop a lot more. John May dinks a little too wide there. It looks like there's a little slice of the pie for Ben to take, and Ben gladly ate it up.
I think that's why these elite players are so exceptionally tough to beat, is somebody like Ben can take that much court, completely clog the middle. And if you go to the open court where it looks like the one area that's open, if you just go a little bit too wide, you see how surgical he is when you just give him a couple inches to work with. So that's what the elite players can do. They can be a force in the middle of the court, for hand battles and whatnot. And even when you hit to the open space, you've got to be careful not to go too wide, or that gives them the advantage as well.
K-Mac, so tell me, so if I'm going to defend the ATP and I'm going to defend it well, where should my court positioning be here?
Yeah, I mean, I would have probably dropped, maybe taken a stronger angle backwards. Okay. You took a little bit of kind of an anchor step there, but you were still relatively close to the kitchen line by the time the ATP was hit. I'd rather see you sag back to closer to mid-court or transition, just to up your percentages on your reset and give you a little bit more reaction time.
Right. Yeah, I think for viewers out there, I should really try to park myself just right on the line, buy myself some time, get my butt down. All of your power, all of your control comes from the ground up, and just make sure that when I make contact with this, that my feet are stable and I'm not moving back. K-Mac, I can't tell you how many times I'm seeing pro players, and this is like the most silly thing. I'm seeing pro players, when they try to defend an ATP, they're running at the ball, like they're running forward, and it's almost like they're like getting close to the net, and they're trying to defend it from there. That is the complete opposite of what you want to do. There's no need. There's no need to try to be the hero and to cut the ball off. Scoot your ass back. If you don't have a play on it, you can try to block it soft. If it's up a little higher and you have some time, maybe you can swing. But the end goal here is that, either you or your partner have dinked it out wide. Your opponents are hitting an ATP. You're looking to either neutralize if you don't have time and block it in the kitchen, or if it gets floated up, or maybe it's a tougher ATP and they're not able to put as much pace on it, then you can swing away, correct?
No, 100% agree with you. There was a highlight of Kyle Yates.
Oh yeah, that would never happen again.
He slid over and he countered, perfectly on an ATP defense. And I think we've seen some more pro players try that now. But I think it's like you mentioned. I think it's a low percentage play. It's not the right play. When they can hit an ATP an inch off the ground, you're not going to be able to counter consistently at that low of a position. It makes sense to buy some time, try to reset the point, just extend the play, and like you mentioned, don't try to be the hero.
Play it the right way. Okay. Looks like it's 2-6-2 here, and John and I are looking for a stop. Ben and Collin are wearing their matching blue shirts.
Oh yeah,
those guys love their blue. You and the Johns
looking sharp.
Love your
They're
blue.
Matchy.
Oh no, John May. Oh God, hard ball. Oh, we got away with murder. Look at this. John May hits a little floaty fourth. It's got nothing on it. Watch this. Drop, floated, hard ball, somehow get it down, hold, speed. And John May does that so well. So look at the first initial dink. Here's your build-up dink right here.
Mm-hmm.
So runs around, big loop, hold, dink outside foot, hold, run around, and bang. Catches Collin a little handcuff, or not. I'm sorry, not handcuff, but just seems like it jams him a little bit. Didn't seem like Collin got a whole lot of extension on that counter. It kind of got stuck into his body a little bit. Something that both K-Mac and I teach is that if you don't see the speed up coming quick enough and you don't get any extension on your punch, if the punch is inside your body and there's no initial extension, it's tough to really be precise on your counter. It's tough to get any power. You may want to opt just to block there. Right. Obviously, if Collin were to see the speed up and he can get some extension and he can get some distance with his paddle from the body, then it makes sense to punch, but it just seems like he got a little jam there. The ball kind of got inside of his body. But John May did a good job of using a build-up dink, which led to the same look, and he flung a little speed up in there.
Well, and did a good job of using his legs, too. I mean, we've talked about how good of a backhand John May has. He's one of the better, pros on tour of creating offense, even off the bounce on the backhand wing, but doesn't settle for it, right? Uses his footwork, runs around, and with an inside-out forehand, he can easily get ahead in the point with the inside-out aggressive dink as well, just looking at the court positioning. So it gives him options, and that's what you want when you're playing such a good team.
K-Mac, tell me this. What percentage of players would completely murder the ball where CJ is hitting this dink? CJ decides to dink this ball. The ball is around his hip. Tell me, how many players right there are going to just destroy a forehand?
Most. I mean, Collin is extra patient, right? I think there's a progression of a player when they first come in, they're attacking too often. Any forehand they can take out of the air, right? But it almost seems like the pendulum has swung too far where he's waiting too much to create offense. And, I'm not going to say that's necessarily wrong. Look how much success they've had with him being uber patient and just letting Ben provide most of the team's offense. But we are starting to see with the results, them not win as much. And that's a type of ball where you look at their game as a whole and you say, you know what, maybe you want to take a few more chances. That's clearly a mistake from your opponents. Maybe we're not capitalizing on those.